Happy Friday! Thanks everyone for tuning in here on the Prop Queen Pod. I'm the Prop Queen, Ariel Epstein. I've got my Knicks jersey ready to go. I'm wearing Mellow. Go Cuse. Absolutely love it. I am pumped. The sun is coming out. It was raining before, which is why my hair looks terrible. It's a big day. I actually can't believe that New York actually has a Subway Series and a chance for the Knicks to go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. Insane. Big show today. Mid-Major Matt, of course, coming on the show on a Friday, giving out MLB picks. We've also got John Ewing, who's a friend of mine who I've never had on a show before. I actually had to ask him earlier if John Ewing did any TV or on-air stuff. I know that he does a lot of emails and PR. He's the head of PR and data for BetMGM. Going to talk all things NFL line movement. A lot of movement in week one, a lot of movement in the win totals and futures markets. So we'll see where you can get ahead. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to join on a Friday. That's so sad. We don't have a lot of viewers today. Usually we have a lot more. People are busy. Fridays are tough, but we're going to try to end this week on a high note and make some money. Anyone that listened to Morgan Wallen, Dealer, great song. It is great if you love gambling. If you're a blackjack person, The Dealer by Morgan Wallen, amazing. Oh, and my friend Rachel, shout out to her. I'm wearing the jersey that she gave me on the show. My friend Rachel, her dad makes the suits for big-time celebrities, including Mr. Leon Rose of the Knicks. She texted me today that she's sitting third row. Cool, Rachel. Thanks for the invite. Third row today, thanks to Leon Rose. Happy Friday, Shawn Michael. And guns out. I look really pale. Ooh, that's bad. Anyway, I don't have muscle. It's fine. I work out. So anyway, wins and losses from last night. Let's get to it. Last night, Chet Holmgren goes over his rebound prop again in that series with the Nuggets. He had a 8.5 and 9.5 rebound prop. He had 11. Nuggets power forward Aaron Gordon went over his 6.5 rebound prop with 7. So if you listen to the Prop Queen Pod, we did hit the rebounds prop that we made here live on the show with the 8+ rebounds for Chet, 6+ rebounds for Gordon. It was around -112. So congrats to all who tailed. That was the first time making a bet live on the show and coming up with something with you guys. So pumped about it. Christian Braun, listen, these last 3 days have been where the props that have been losing have been hitting. We hit the Pascal Siakam going over his rebounds a couple nights ago. Hit Pods last night or 2 nights ago. That was 2 nights ago. And then last night, Christian Braun finally goes over 11.5 points. He had 23 against OKC. So that one's going to a game 7. Hopefully, we don't have the same problem with the Knicks tonight. Where the Prop Queen newsletter was wrong, the Reds right-hander Nick Martinez did not go over his 4.5 strikeout prop. He had just 3 strikeouts in 7 innings against the White Sox. The strikeout props were just terrible yesterday. Absolutely sucked. So I apologize to all of you. That was horrible. Horrible day for strikeout props. Gossman did not go over. He lost by... He lost by 1. I always say lost by the hook, but I know people hate that because it's like you lost by 1. Gossman lost by 1. He had 6 Ks. Stupid. DeGrom also lost by 1. He had 7 Ks in 8 innings over 6.5 Ks. That was just, he was staying in the game so long. It was such a low-scoring game. Hunter Brown also 9 strikeouts in 8 innings. 6.5 K prop goes over. SGA did not go over, SGA did not go under. We lost that by a bucket too. 30.5. He had 32 points. Just was a bad day. Very bad day. And Matt Reichel says that he had a sweat on the Joker over on points. Brock Purdy got 5 of 265. What do you mean? You should do a parlay every night, and every time it hits, you add a leg the next night. No, Mark. No. Add a leg? You want me to go hit a parlay, and then after I hit a 2-leg parlay, go to a 3-leg parlay? Oh, I see what you're saying now. Sorry. Okay, I just got the Brock Purdy. So the Brock Purdy news of the day that just broke. Purdy got a new deal, finalizing a 5-year, $265 million contract, according to Adam Schefter. So Mr. Irrelevant to a $265 deal. That's crazy. There's a lot of people that don't really know what's going to happen with San Francisco. Kelly in Vegas did hit the under on their win total last year. I I'd be curious to get John Ewing's thoughts, but I didn't really see much on the Niners. We're going to get BetMGM's John Ewing to come on the show. He has a lot of movement for week 1, a lot of movement for the futures market. So we'll get to that around 5:40 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll get to some other stuff while we're at it. But I want to know what you guys think in the chat. I know that when you're outside of New York, you don't really like get it or feel it maybe, but like if it was in your own town, if you have like if you're in Houston, if you're in Texas and you've got the Rangers and the Astros, but then you also had like the Mavericks in like the same position as the Knicks, like try to put yourself in our shoes here in New York. I had a friend text me yesterday who said, you better be going to the Subway Series tomorrow. I said, why? The Knicks are playing. If you're going to the Subway Series tonight, which is awesome, and it's Juan Soto's return, and I love the Yankees, and I love baseball, you're not going to be able to watch the Knicks game unless you're like watching it on your phone. You could go to the Subway Series tomorrow and Sunday. And I'm not even saying about going to, but like I understand the Knicks tickets are extremely expensive, but I'm not going to either game. The Knicks game is way too expensive. I don't want to go to the Subway Series tonight and then not be able to watch the Knicks game. I decided instead, because I'm a degenerate and a moron, I'm going to a bar. But I'm going to a bar with nice food, like a nice bar. And it has TVs everywhere. We're sitting at a high top. We're going to be in Midtown. At least then, if the Knicks happen to win, I'm not even that superstitious because I'm not like a diehard about the Knicks, but I'm still being a Knicks fan today. If the Knicks happen to win, I'm going to 7th Ave. I am shutting down 7th Avenue with all the Knicks fans, and I'm being part of the party. I mean, 25 years. I am 30. That means that I was 5 years old. I got to enjoy the moment. If you love your city, you have to enjoy something that hasn't happened in a long time. We've seen the Subway Series. It's not like this is the World Series. I can't name you a time that this happened in New York. I don't know the last time that we had a bigger 2 games in New York. You could say, sure, when let's say like when the Giants or Jets were good, but that's September versus baseball. Like, I don't know. Like, it's early in the year in the NFL. You don't really get this. There wouldn't be any other situation except maybe the Astros, but like it's not as big because this is the Mets and the Yankees. These are 2 New York teams going head to head. With Juan Soto's return, there's going to be animosity. There's going to be booing. It's going to be lit. But apparently tomorrow at Yankee Stadium is going to be wild. Today at Madison Square Garden, that place is going to be rocking. Midtown's going to be insanity. Linsanity. I'm so excited. Will you be crying on 7th Ave? No, I'm not going to 7th Ave if they lose. I'll just keep drinking and then come back uptown and not worry about it. Why the hell would I stay down there? There's no party. I'd be out. We only go to 7th Ave and shut down 7th Ave if there is a party to be had. But I would like to know your thoughts in the chat. Like, if you're like me, I'm not like the biggest diehard basketball fan, but this is the most I've cared about the Knicks probably in my life. So I'm super pumped for the state of New York. I'll bring on my great guest who comes on every Monday and Friday. We talk MLB, but he does have fandom for all of the sports. So mid-major Matt coming on the show. Matt, if you're in my shoes, are you like, I said to the show, I'm going to a bar because I don't want to have to decide. Like, the game that I could probably get into is Yankees Mets, but I don't want to miss the Knicks game.
I'd go to the Yankees Mets game tonight. I think you could be disappointed. I think you could be disappointed. I mean, I hope, unfortunately, as a Philadelphian, I want both teams to lose, and I know that can't happen. So, but I'd still, it's Yankees Mets. Why not? I'd much rather go to that and follow the game on my phone. And if it gets interesting, then leave in the 7th or 8th inning, especially if it's a blowout tonight.
What blowout?
Well, let's say the Yankees score a bunch on McGill and they're up like 7-1 in the 8th inning. You leave a little early, catch the 4th quarter by the end.
I'm just going to go to the bar and get to enjoy both games at the same time. Matt, before we get to any of your plays tonight, there was one from that Subway Series that stood out to me. I looked at Carlos Rodon under 6.5 Ks. I looked at it. The Mets aren't striking out that much against lefties this year. Rodon's just been amazing, and he's like top 5 in strikeouts so far this season. Thoughts?
Here's my problem as I look right now in our spreadsheet. They haven't faced, Rodon would be the best lefty they've faced all year. I mean, they had 7 against JP Sears. That's like 15 by Rodon. They had 6 against Liberatore. Christopher Sanchez is pretty good, but he got injured. He had 2 in 2 innings. Matt Boyd had 8. So, like, to me, the data points we have say that the Mets haven't faced a legit lefty all year. I mean, Framber Valdez was back in opening day, so I can't really take too much out of the statistics.
Right.
So
that was so early.
I need more data points before I can go and say that they're just going to make more contact against lefties this season.
That's fair. I'll give it to you. So let's look at what we're talking about today. Mackenzie Gore over 6.5 strikeouts. I am shocked because there is some weather issues in this game and you don't care.
So the weather issues are mostly at the beginning of the game. So I don't think they're going to get started until after the rain happens. My problem is usually when it comes to weather is the middle of the game. Like Philadelphia, I think is going to have more of an issue than Washington tonight. And then I'm looking at Mackenzie Gore, and I see that he's on the road, but he had 9 in Cincinnati. He had 13 in Colorado. He had 6 in Philadelphia. And the Orioles are a mess against left-handed starting pitching. I mean, they're averaging nearly 7 strikeouts per game against left-handed starting pitching so far this season. That includes some of the bad guys as well. So I think that this is some solid value. And I think, look, the weather issues will either have them all just going up there and swinging at everything, or Gore's a little rusty and he's not as good. I'll take my shot that Gore is really good against an Orioles team that can't hit. By the way, the other bet to kind of look at here, I didn't like the juice, and I'm looking to see if the juice changed a little bit. Oh, actually did. Under 5.5 hits allowed by Mackenzie Gore. He is on a really nice stretch where he's allowing under 5.5 hits. And if you look, only the very first left-handed starting pitcher to face Baltimore this season, Sean Newcomb, he is the only guy who has allowed more than 5 hits against Baltimore this season from the left-handed side. So the juice is improved. I kind of like that under 5.5 hits allowed for Gore.
How much does it scare you if Gore, he already pitched against the Orioles this year, had a successful outing, went over his strikeout prop in that game? How much does it concern you to go back to it?
I mean, a little bit, because you look, Bubic had a rough outing the second time, and I say rough, he only had 3 strikeouts against him. So, I mean, that's a little bit interesting, but Gore has just been so good, and this Nats bullpen is so bad that they're going to need him to go 6 or 7 so far. And if he hadn't had as much success on the road, I certainly wouldn't be very interested. He had 7 in Miami. That's a nice number too. So there was just a lot of things that I think went in our favor. And as I said in my write-up on my Twitter account, like if the weather was better, I probably would have thrown a little bit more on it, but the weather is a little bit of a concern, so I put a little less on it.
Yeah, check him out at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter, or X, whatever you refer to. You were mentioning the Royals. Andre Palante is getting the Royals today over 2.5 Ks. You're willing to lay the -150. That's hefty juice, but you love Palante. Why?
So last year he went over this, and the Royals arguably last year were more contact heavy than they are this year. He had 5 strikeouts, I believe, in both starts against them. So that's something I looked at. And you look at this guy, he had 7 in Washington. He had 4 in Cincinnati. He had 6 in Boston. So he's fine pitching in Kansas City. Look, it's going to be ugly. The other thing that I do like about him is he's going deeper in games on the road. 7.1 innings in Washington, 6 in Cincinnati, 6 in New York against the Mets. And this is definitely one of those situations at 2.5 where he could spread 3 strikeouts out completely. Yeah, the juice is a little bit heavy, and I don't love laying that much juice, but the 2.5 here I think is a generous number that I'll take advantage of.
There's one we agree on. Well, I kind of agreed with Mackenzie Gore. I just got a little nervous because I hate when something happens in game 1, so I stay away from game 2. Corbin Burnes we agree on, though. Over 6.5 Ks. I thought it was a reasonable price as well. He is getting the Colorado Rockies, who absolutely suck. What is it about this matchup with Burnes you like?
Yeah, Burnes is not striking as many guys as he used to. He's gone over this number only twice. He's had 8 strikeouts against the Yankees earlier this season, and he's a guy that we know is certainly capable of getting a lot of strikeouts. He also had 8 against the Tampa Bay Rays. I just think he's due for one of these really good starts. I think he's due for a start where he goes out, he throws 6 innings, gives up a couple of hits, and has about 8, 9, 10 strikeouts. I just think Corbin Burnes is a really good pitcher. You look at Colorado outside of Coors, they're just not hitting very well. They're not doing anything very well. Certainly when it comes to Colorado, I'm looking more towards the outs, but they made that -210 on over 17.5 outs for Corbin Burnes. So it was highly unplayable, but I just think tonight you got to look to play the over against Colorado as much as possible, even though they're not striking out as much as of late.
I agree with that. And all his prior starts, aside for the start against the Yankees, weren't really strikeout-prone lineups anyway. So matchup-wise, this is Burns' best opportunity to go over a strikeout prop since the Yankees in his first start of the year, where Burns did go over with 8 strikeouts. I am surprised, Matt. I am surprised at this next one. You are taking the bait and you're going with Logan Webb over 5.5 Ks. Logan Webb is Max Fried. There is like those two, it's 5.5 every single time. We always do it. Sometimes we win. Mostly we hate ourselves. Why are you willing to hate yourself tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's because,
Brutal.
the A's as of late are striking out more. If you look, Yamamoto had 6, Landon Knack had 8, Will Warren had 7, Wu had 6. They're just striking out a little bit more as of late. Molly had 6, Eovaldi had 8, DeGrom had 7, and then 6. And Logan Webb, here's the thing, the story's kind of being told. 19.5 is Logan Webb's outs. So we're expecting around 7 innings tonight. He's gone over this number in 5 straight starts and 7 of his last 8. There were 6.5s to the under on other books. I decided to take the over 5.5 here. I just think I'm riding a little bit of a stretch where the A's are just striking out a lot as a young team and a veteran pitcher who should be out there for 7 innings. I'm going to take a shot, and then Monday when it loses, I'll add him to our list and never take him again.
He scares the hell out of me. I think I lost a strikeout prop on him already this year. I can't remember. I feel like I definitely took the bait on him and I ended up losing. I lost on Fried too. Like these two, we just keep it always looks so intriguing every time.
Oh yeah, I'm never taking Fried. Like when you told me that you took him, I was like, oh boy. And he did what we thought he would do. It was 5.5 and he had 5. Like that's what Max Fried does when we take his overs is he has 5 because it's 5.5 every time. And Seattle's going to be one of those teams that really frustrates me. And I'm looking at our record. I mean, I'm doing okay against Seattle. You're 2-2, but like they're now kind of creeping back into that team that didn't make a lot of contact as much as they did last year.
Oh, okay, and then you like Max Meyer over 15.5 outs. The Miami Marlins are getting the Tampa Bay Rays today. Why did the Rays keep him in the game? Well, why does he stay in the game against the Rays?
Yeah. It's so funny because we all knew that Max Meyer was the starter tonight, but for the longest time, it was a TBD. So when this first came out, I was really excited. Max Meyer's pitching terribly. And if you look at his last 3 starts, I mean, he was awesome in Cincinnati on April 21st. He had 14 strikeouts in 6 innings. He was awesome. Since then, he has been absolutely horrible, including a bad start in Chicago. But the one thing you notice is he's still going innings. Last time out against the White Sox, he still went 6 1/3 innings. And at the time, I got a 15.5, which did not last very long because I'm looking right now to see what Max Meyer's number is. It's 17.5. So it's gone up 2 outs since they opened it this afternoon. And so Max Meyer may be bad, but he is still going to give them length. 6 of the last 9 right-handed starting pitchers have gone over this against Tampa Bay. I was very lucky to get it. I would not take it at 17.5 because that's almost a whole inning difference. But this is why you always have to be ready for this sort of thing because this number is well gone. And I think I got some good CLV.
Damn. 2 outs. I never really see something move that much. You get 1 strikeout, 1 out, but to move 2 outs is crazy. Weather. You said there's a lot of weather today. What game should people look out for and be cautious of?
So the Cincinnati game has already started. For those who are not familiar, Cincinnati and Cleveland actually moved up their start time for the game tonight because there was a lot of storms that were potentially coming. In Philly tonight, it could be a long rain delay to start the game. You better hope they do not start it. If you're involved in Ranger Suarez or Andrew Heaney, it probably should be unders. And then you hope they start and then the rain delay comes. But I look, Philly has kind of been pretty smart when it comes to the rain delays, but could be a long time before this game gets started. The Nats and Orioles game, there is a window. It looks like that the early part could be a little delayed, but there's a storm later, which by the way, it doesn't matter if it's like the 8th or 9th inning. Gore's probably gone. All your starting pitchers are gone. And then I don't know what's going on with the weather in your neck of the woods, but I mean, there was rain supposed to be involved in this Yankees game, but it doesn't look like it anymore.
Nope. No rain. I think the night's supposed to be clear.
So yeah, that was another game that we were kind of looking at. And then the wind is blowing out in Kansas City for the beginning of the game. And then it's going left to right in the middle of the game. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. And then hopefully everybody had the over in the Chicago game because the wind was blowing out in Wrigley today.
When the wind is blowing left to right, how does that impact things?
I don't think it really does. I mean, I don't think it really does. Some of the ballparks, it probably matters a little bit more than others. I don't think, maybe it affects, fly balls, pop-ups and people catching the ball, but I don't think it really matters that much. For those who don't look usually at this, it's very important nowadays to look at the weather. I go to Roto Grinders. You've had the guy on, Kevin Roth. He does a tremendous job at updating sort of things and talking about it. He updates it every morning and then puts little blurbs on the games that matter. So that's kind of where I get my information. But the people who don't think weather matters, that's really large, especially now with all the heat that's going to happen and the pop-up storms that could ruin games in game.
I want to talk a bit about Ranger Suarez because he was someone we talked about this morning. Ranger Suarez, to go over his strikeout prop, was something that you said we should stay away from because of the weather. But it is worth pointing out that the Pittsburgh Pirates this year against lefties, 9 of the 11 southpaws to face the Pirates have gone over their strikeout prop, averaging just under 6 strikeouts a game.
Yeah. I mean, if it was a perfect night, I would 100% taken it. He had 6 in his first start against the Diamondbacks, and that was in 3 2/3 innings. And that was with him coming off the IL. And we know that sometimes your best stuff is not your first start. He had 5 in Cleveland, which is, like 7 other places. And then, the place I probably would have gone was his outs over. But this will tell you this story right here. I don't think any books are offering any outs in this game, which means they also believe that the weather could be an issue in terms of pitchers leaving early and stuff like that. So that always kind of tells you a little bit, if the outs aren't available everywhere, what the books think in terms of if this game will start on time. And if it does start on time, will it continue on time?
Some other big news of the day, your Phillies put Aaron Nola on the IL with a ankle injury, right?
Yes.
So your Phillies now are plus 190 to win the NL East. The Mets are favored at minus 125. I know I sound like a hater. I am very non-biased. I really don't care if the Mets win the division or not. I just don't think that their pitching and their rotation is sustainable, the Mets. So the Phillies at plus 190 seems like decent value, no?
Nope, it's the Braves. It's the Braves. It's been the Braves, and it's
plus
still
390.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had it. I think I have like 6-1, 7-1. I took it when they started really slow. Acuna is on his rehab assignment. Strider will come back and hopefully will stay in. But I just think the Braves have the best roster and the best team in this division. That's me saying that as a Phillies fan. I think the Phillies.
The Braves were favored at the beginning of the season, preseason, to win the division. So it's kind of like the books know something, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they have the Phillies have the best rotation. That's by far. But I think the Braves have the second best rotation. I think the Braves have the better lineup, the more consistent lineup when Ronald Acuna is in the lineup. I think they have a better bullpen than the Phillies. Maybe it's right there. Plus, the Phillies are very inconsistent. They go in these stretches where they hit everything and they're great, and then they have these stretches where they hit nothing and they're terrible. I just like the Braves' consistency a whole lot more. So I have a Braves future in my pocket with them winning division when they were not doing very well, because I believe in Atlanta more than my own team.
I know that you probably don't, but you don't do college baseball stuff, right?
I do not, but I do know Virginia is pretty good. I know that Virginia Tech has been better at times, but no, we don't. We talk a little bit of college baseball here. There's a couple of decent teams in the state of Virginia, but not so much.
I know, because we're hitting that point now where college baseball is gonna get to the point of you could still bet college baseball games, but it gets to the bigger scale now once we get to conference tournaments and regionals and super regionals and the College World Series all coming up in the next few weeks. And I laugh because your name's Mid-Major Matt, and I feel like baseball is like such a non-rev sport that it should just, the whole sport in itself should be considered a mid-major.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. In the SEC land, it's not. I mean, in the SEC, it just means more, as the conference constantly tells us. So, and I'm looking at the odds for the championship here, and I see Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Texas, Florida, Auburn, all in the top 10 in terms of winning the championship. So it just tells me that pick an SEC team, you're probably going to win.
I really want to go to Omaha one day, though, and I want to do the shot challenge. Have you ever been to Omaha?
I have not been to Omaha, and I'm very familiar with the shot challenge because all the years that Virginia made it, then I would be paying attention to the leaderboard, and usually Virginia was towards the bottom. I don't think Virginia fans do as many shots.
Losers.
Well, I mean, look, the SEC, they have classes on shot taking, so therefore they're going to win no matter what. But I think Virginia fans like to enjoy their drinks more than taking shots.
It's Jello shots, I think. It's so easy. Like you could just, but I don't have a leg to stand on. My college didn't even have a baseball team. Like I can't believe Syracuse. Like I go to the school with no baseball.
We have softball though.
I know. I covered it. As a reporter. I mean, we have Mello, but that's about it. Football's better now.
I'll say this. I am looking forward to the college football win totals have started to come out. Now, the group of 5 hasn't yet, so I haven't started researching all that stuff yet, but I'm certainly looking forward to it, and we will certainly talk about how we can.
When do you start looking at college football futures?
Probably July. I mean, there's still the transfer portal. There's still roster changes for some extent. I don't need a Nico Iamaleava story to come out. And I have the over on somebody and the quarterback leave. So like I kind of wait as much as possible to get the most information. Granted, I won't necessarily get the best juice or the best number, but it's something that I really take pride on. And I'm looking forward to doing it for this website too, to help out the readers and everything, because we want to grow the newsletter as much as possible.
That's why I love you. Matt, Mid-Major Matt. Make sure to follow him on all socials. He also contributes to the PropQueen.com newsletter. He's here every Monday, Friday. His busy season is always baseball, but it's especially once college football starts. You guys are going to want to hear all his insights into the college football world because he crushes it in the markets that you guys probably aren't looking at. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show, and hopefully we do better with the K-props tonight.
Have a tremendous weekend, and hopefully somebody's miserable in Boston or New York by the time we talk again.
Yeah, I just hope the other team is miserable in New York on the baseball side. So
that's fine.
Yeah. We'll see you Monday, Matt.
See ya.
Make sure. Okay. We've got a lot to get to. So because John Ewing from BetMGM, their head of PR and data, is going to come on to talk all things week 1 in the NFL, win total movement since the schedule was released. We're going to get to as much as possible with the prop edges for tonight in the NBA and in Major League Baseball. So let's start first with propaganda. These are your most bet on props, according to BetMGM tonight in the Knicks-Celtics game. Drew Holiday over rebounds. Drew Holiday over points, rebounds, and assists. Derek White under 4.5 3-pointers made. Jesus Christ. Jalen Brunson first field goal. Done bet. Mikal Bridges under 7.5 assists and rebounds. Yeah, I could see it, but not betting it because I like Bridges. These are the numbers for the Boston Celtics this year without Jason Tatum, with Brown and Porzingis. I know Porzingis, I barely even saw props on him because of his health, but the regular season games are the ones that at least did have Porzingis. I think there's one more without Porzingis, so it would have been 5 games, add one more. But anyway, here's how these players did. To me, Jaylen Brown's prop at 25.5 feels very high. Granted, he did have 26 against the Knicks in game 5. But I think that game was, right, that game was at home. It was the last game. So that game was in Boston. When Brown's been on the road, it's not the same. Him on the road against the Knicks, he's not as good at the Garden. Again, granted, I know that there's no Jason Tatum this time. I'm just staying away from Brown. White on the road's better, but his points prop now is 20.5. Now, White's points prop was 18.5. At one point, it was 15.5. White's points prop was 15.5 to start this series. Now we're up to 20.5. Even in the last game at home in Boston, it was 18.5 without Jason Tatum. This number now too high, long gone, but I do still always like White over Brown. Drew Holiday is who everyone's expecting the big game to be. When you look at the propaganda stuff with the public liking Drew Holiday overs today, I get it because his game was whatever in game 5, but he still went over 11.5 points. Rebounds, I guess, goes up 2 without Tatum. He averages just under 6 rebounds per game, Holiday, without him. He had 7 in the last game. His prop's only 4.5. Pritchard, he obviously has been the guy, but again, if you look at his points prop, it's right on average with his numbers without Tatum. Al Horford, he's the other one to look at now that we definitely are not going to touch Kristaps Porzingis props. 10 points, 9, 12. His points prop's 8.5. So Horford's points prop is pretty low, actually, when you take a look at these differences between all the different averages. trying to think if there's any other edges. The ones that really just stood out to me were Jaylen Brown's points prop is just way too high for my liking. And Al Horford, his points prop looks a little low, so you can maybe take an over there. Drew Holiday, I see the hype. People like to take the over there as well. For some Knicks trends, so Jalen Brunson, I'm a little worried because the juice is on the under now. I'm actually looking more in Cat's direction. But just to make a note, because I was trying to look for trends with the Knicks at home against the Celtics, and I know it's kind of hard to do because Jason Tatum's out. But Jalen Brunson has had 27 and 36 points against the Celtics in Madison Square Garden in the regular season. And then he had 27 on Saturday at MSG and 39 in game 4. So his props 30 and a half. Karl Anthony Towns has had big games at home against the Celtics this year. February 2nd was the last time he didn't have a good game. It was 9 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. Then Cat ends up with 34 points, 23 points, and 21 points in the last 3, including the last 2 home playoff games. His points prop is 20 and a half. It just feels pretty low. So I would be taking a look at Cat over points. We'll get to a little more baseball, but our next guest is earlier than expected, and I'm so excited about it. I haven't spoken to him like I think ever in real life. We email all the time. His emails are like the favorite part of my day, and it's why we get propaganda segment. It's why we have access to all the info that we need from behind the window. So let's go behind the window and talk to BetMGM's Mr. John Ewing, the head of data and PR. Thank you for coming on.
What is going on? Yeah, I know. We're never in real life, finally, right?
I know. I was not even sure if you did on-air stuff. I just know you're behind the scenes, crunching the numbers all the time. But you do such a great job over at BetMGM. How'd you get into this, by the way?
I've been in sports betting for over a decade. I worked at a number of different websites doing content, and then the opportunity came available to switch sides and jump over the counter, and I haven't looked back.
I love it. And we love going over the counter. So let's take a look at some of these trends. I have to produce this show from behind the scenes, and it gets to be very annoying. I want to get some of the graphics up that I built for you, though, because we did talk about some of these NFL trends from around week 1. So let's talk about after the schedule release, there were some. Wait, no, I'm not going to talk about the trends just yet. I'm just trying to get these graphics up. I was waiting for you in like 10 minutes from now. I know that you had a busy.
I'm sorry. I jumped on. I hope it's not a problem being a little early.
No, it's great. Okay, let's talk about the most bet on games week 1 first. You're seeing some action come in, and of course, Dallas, Philly, Pittsburgh, the Jets, New England, and Las Vegas. Talk about these games a little bit and where you guys probably need week 1.
Yeah, Cowboys, Eagles opener. Philly 7-point favorites there in a division game. We've seen pretty even action on this. Majority of bets are on the Cowboys taking the points, but majority of the money, 54%, is on Jalen Hurts and co. to cover as touchdown favorites. I went back through the data, though, just curious. 7-point favorites. You don't see a lot of those early in the season, especially week 1. Since 2010, favorites of a touchdown or more are 16 and 25 against the spread. So that's less than a 40% win rate. But right now, early action public is on the Cowboys, but maybe sharp money laying the points.
That's so interesting. And then it's also interesting to me that people are betting this Pittsburgh and Jets game when we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I know. Second most bet game right now at BetMGM in week 1. I was thinking maybe bettors are seeing Steelers only as 3.5-point favorites and assuming they're going to get Aaron Rodgers maybe at quarterback. Otherwise, it's Mason Rudolph, I think, is number 1 on their depth chart. Plus 90% of bets and money are on the Steelers early, which is, again, that's nowhere near where we expect this to stay. It's just so very early that we see lopsided action on a lot of these markets in every game.
I feel like people are kind of high on the New England Patriots going into this year. People felt last year they saw Drake May under center. He looked like he made improvements. What have you seen on the Pats?
Yeah, 2.5 point favorites here against the Raiders. They were underdogs in every game last season. So early money is on New England to cover there. And you mentioned being a team that bettors are targeting. That's also true in other markets. For example, on the win totals, they're one of the teams we've had to adjust up. They opened at 7.5. Now they're at 8.5. And they're also a popular favorite to make the playoffs as well.
Yeah, we're seeing these win total movements right here. But before I get to the rest of these, John, we're seeing that Brock Purdy signed his new 5-year deal, $285 million for Mr. Irrelevant. How much does that impact things knowing that, okay, he's our franchise quarterback. We're done.
Yeah, I mean, the win total for the 49ers, 10.5. Early action, though, is on the under. Maybe there was some concern whether what kind of weapons he still has, whether they can they had an up and down season, right? But
Yeah.
if everyone's healthy, Brock Purdy, now the contract situation's locked in, so no, off-field drama for them. And then in terms of week 1, I'm looking at my notes here. 1.5 point favorites on the road in division against Seattle. That should be a great game. Total 45.5. No significant betting on this, no line movement, but always love to hear about a player getting paid.
Let's look at these win totals that have moved. So Bengals, Browns, Saints, Patriots, the ones that you noted. Cincinnati dropping by a win is pretty interesting with their big three, but of course defense is the question mark. Why do you think the Bengals are dropping?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's the defense. I talked to our traders earlier. You can score all the points you want, but if you can't keep the other team out of the end zone, that's a recipe for losing games. And the total 10.5. Now it's 9.5. We see this is a pros versus Joes situation. 7% of bets are on the over, but nearly 7% of the money was on the under, which has triggered the line movement.
The Browns, too, dropping 5.5 to 4.5. This team just an absolute mess, despite the fact that they have beaten my Ravens I can't even talk about that game. That game was an absolute disaster last year. It feels like the Browns are going to get like one win over the Ravens and one over the Steelers anyway. That's just always what happens. So that's 2 wins right there. But it makes sense. The Browns would drop. Their quarterback situation also is a hot mess.
Yeah, and as we know, quarterbacks, this is a quarterback league, and their situation is murky. They're playing a really tough division. You got the Ravens. I know you think maybe they'll still win from them, but Ravens, the high-powered offense with Cincinnati, and then, of course, the Steelers never seem to have a losing record, so tough to get wins in the division.
How much do you think about that with the Steelers, despite whatever quarterback situation they're in? When you're setting those win totals as a book, you're just assuming Mike Tomlin's going 500 at least.
He's been helped because he's had a great defense, and he should have another great defense this year as well. So either have a good quarterback or a great defense, and you can play at least 500 ball in the NFL.
I'm assuming the Saints drop because Derek Carr is worth a win.
What's that meme? We didn't expect much from you, but I mean, they already had they already had the worst odds to win the Super Bowl before the Derek Carr news, and it gets worse for Saints fans.
Okay, week 1.
Okay,
Ugly. This is ugly stuff. I mean, this is what you give us for week 1, but I love it because that's what week 1's all about. Ugly games that no one's looking at, and that's what we love to give out on the show is what no one's looking at. Carolina already has the line moving a point in their favor. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, open 3.5, now 2.5, getting across that key number of 3. More than 9% of bets are on the Panthers to cover. If you look at Bryce Young's splits, weeks 1 through 6, 1 touchdown, 3 turnovers, had to kind of take a little break. And then week 7 on 20 touchdowns, only 8 turnovers, 88.8 passer rating. So maybe some hope there that he is the quarterback of the future and better seeing an opportunity at getting that plus 3.5.
That's crazy. And then Denver, I've actually heard from other odds makers that Denver is getting a lot of love, not just in week 1, but in the futures market as well. People are liking their overs. Why is the line moving a half a point in favor of Denver in the Tennessee quarterback debut for Cam Ward?
One overall, Colorado, tons of bettors there, and they're homers, just like everybody else. So they love their Broncos. Bo Nix and co. 8-0 against the spread last year as favorites. This is another one where we're just seeing extreme lopsided action out of the gate. More than 90% of bets and money are on Denver to cover as more than touchdown favorites now.
Do you have numbers, by the way, on number 1 overall pick quarterbacks week 1?
Not off the top of my head, but I could find it for you.
I don't need it right now, but I'm just like curious about, there's always the hype, but I'd assume the public is fading any rookie quarterback.
But, it always depends, right? What's the narrative? Is this a quarterback like Caleb Williams? Last year out of the gate, there were such high expectations and everyone was on the Bears, and then, perform poorly or not up to expectations. And then you'll see bettors fading them.
Well, yeah, like the Chicago Bears, and you've got Minnesota here where no one likes the Bears. No one's ever high on the Bears, but yet the line's moving in their favor. JJ McCarthy going to finally get the start under center after having a season-ending injury last year. I guess people are worried about the injury?
I think this is more just about Caleb Williams and what the Bears have done in the offseason and the draft. They got him more weapons with Colston Loveland, Luther Burden from my Missouri Tigers. Add that in with Rome Odunze from last year, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. This is definitely a chance for Caleb to take a step forward. And then I know you love this kind of stuff too, but last week, we get a new pope. Turns out he's from Chicago. And we actually saw an increase in betting on the White Sox, on Villanova, where he went to school, and the Bears. There was a 157% increase in handle on the Bears to win the Super Bowl after the new pope was announced. So bettors love to be part of the story and to get to ride with narratives. And right now, they're definitely doing that with the Bears. Week 1, open plus 1.5, now 1.5 point favorites against the Vikings.
I saw people doing the Villanova, New York Knicks, and I think the Cubs people were putting in for a parlay for championships.
Yeah, there was a bit of confusion there. Everyone assumed he was a Cubs fan, but then his brother came out and said he's actually White Sox.
Oh yeah, everyone was expecting him to root for the better team. It's understandable. The Pope couldn't be a fan of losers, but I guess he is. You do have some week 1 trends.
He truly understands suffering, right? As a White Sox fan.
Yeah, he feels for all the losers out there. These are not losers. These are winners. Lions, 4-0 ATS week 1 with their head coach, Dan Campbell. How much do you take these trends into account when booking lines?
Jared Goff also 8-0 against the spread in week 1 in his career. Hey, those are all great if you happen to back them. But no, the traders are never really worried about trends like this. It's all about the specific matchups. The Lions were one of the best teams in the NFL a year ago, and they're 1.5 point favorites right now against the Packers. I went and looked it up, though. Underdogs in week 1 in division games, 49-2. That's almost a 60% win rate against the spread. So historically, taking the points with division dogs has been a positive trend, which would go against what we've seen from the early bettors.
The international games, you assume are a snooze fest, which is why we love betting, because at least if you're on the right side, then you don't have to sleep through it. And I always thought unders were the play, but it seems that favorites are really the play in the international games.
Yeah, historically, the chalk 36-12 straight up, 32-17 against the spread. That's a 65% win rate. Chiefs 2.5 point favorites against the Chargers in Brazil. That's Friday of week 1. And 75% of bets are on KC to cover.
That's pretty crazy.
I think I sent you a note. Justin Herbert has historically been pretty good against Mahomes, at least covering the numbers, 5-2-1 against the spread.
Yeah, the Chargers have played them super well. It's crazy, though, because we have these new locations. I've been asking people, how the hell do we handicap games in new locations that we know nothing about?
Yeah, that's one. when like if they play in Mexico City, you got the altitude similar to Denver, and you have to take some of that into consideration when handicapping totals. How open a stadium is or isn't can also, like, wind can impact, obviously, if it's really windy, different factors that the trading team and bettors have to consider.
This one I love because, Josh Allen, 0-3 against the spread against Lamar in the regular season. No big deal. Not that it matters because the Ravens don't know how to do anything when it matters, but at least week 1, maybe there's a chance the Ravens could get things off on the right foot, unlike last year when they started out like a bunch of schmoes.
You and everyone else, it seems like, taking the points with the Ravens, more than 90%
Shocker.
of that and money. This is the game of week 1, right? 2 Super Bowl contenders, 2 MVP candidates. And we often see this, right? If you have 2 evenly matched teams, you have a star player. If they're getting points, bettors normally will go favorites. But in these specific situations, they don't mind taking the points or betting the underdog on the money line. And this is where they see some value, at least right out of the gate here. Lamar Jackson getting points.
When you see this early on, because John, I always think that someone betting this early is not a Joe, even though you can say they are because it's the bet sizes. You could probably tell who a Joe is. I just feel like it's so sharp of a Joe to bet this early. No?
There are definitely going to be some line movements, and you will see bettors that get the better of it by, 1, 2, 3 points, even depending on what happens during the summer, during training camps and preseason. Some bettors are going to get definitely the better of the line and have a good opportunity of cashing against the book.
Yeah, I give them credit because I'm a little too nervous before training camp to bet anything on the NFL.
I'm with you. I am focused on the NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs right now.
Me too. Anyway, for tonight, anything that you guys need?
We're actually in a great spot because we get a root for the Thunder. The best outcome on the futures market and book is OKC to win, and it's not very often that the outright
to win the NBA Finals or to win the West?
Both, everything. Lakers and Warriors were the 2 biggest liabilities, so all right, we're good there. Celtics, Knicks and 6 is probably what's going to happen tonight. We'll see. The Knicks are so popular. They could become a liability for us. But right now, we're in a pretty good spot. And like I said, getting to cheer for the Thunder overall, not a bad situation for BetMGM.
I'd have to think that the Pacers is a great outcome for you guys.
Yeah, another team where, again, it's usually the marquee names or the most popular players tend to be our biggest liabilities. So Indiana is a team that kind of flew under the radar for a lot of bettors. That's not where they were focused. And so an Indy Knicks matchup in the East, definitely not something that many people were wagering on.
Yeah, definitely not something that the NBA is probably happy about either. If the Pacers somehow get a win and it's Pacers OKC, I think that would be the worst result for the NBA, but probably really great for you guys.
Either way, it should be a really fun Eastern Conference. I personally like the Knicks in that matchup, but we'll see.
Let's see if they can win tonight. I'm going to Midtown. I'm going to try to have fun. I would love to shut down 7th Ave tonight, but you know how the Knicks do. They don't like to please the home crowd. They like to win on the road and then go party on their own bus without any of us bothering them. What about hockey before I let you go?
We're cheering for the Panthers. That's the best outcome for the sports book overall, just in terms of where we've seen action. But these series have been really great, and that's really what we're cheering for. Normally the sports book, just unders. If the games stay low, that's usually good for us as well.
For the games in particular tonight, whether it's NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, any lopsided action, sharp action that you're seeing?
We are seeing early lopsided action on the Knicks. Only 2.5-point favorites at home. A lot of bettors think they're going to close them out tonight.
I just haven't seen that line move at all, which is what I thought was very interesting because you would think with everyone, you would think it would be steamed to at least 3, but it's not.
We opened Knicks minus 3.5, so it's actually come down. And that was right after, we kind of opened at 3, right after the Celtics looked good in that Game 5 win. But we'll see. It should be a fun game.
John Ewing, head of PR and data over at BetMGM. Make sure to check him out at his name, John Ewing, on social media. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so great getting to speak with you, and your insights every day are super helpful.
Thanks for having me on. It was great chatting.
See you, John. Now I've got some other things to get to in Major League Baseball. We have about 10 minutes left. K-props to watch. Wait, let me get rid of this. What's going on? There we go. K-props to watch today in Major League Baseball. I have a lot. Remember, I don't bet all of these. These are just my leans. And I did like Suarez to go over his strikeout prop tonight, but with the rain, I'm staying away from it. First, we're going with the revenge spot for Chris Sale, who's making his first start at Fenway Park since leaving the Boston Red Sox after 6 seasons. Sale's gone over 7.5 strikeouts in 4 of the 5 starts that he had against a high K rate team against Southpaws. Last year, Sale faced the Red Sox just in Atlanta, 10 strikeouts in 6 innings. The Red Sox are averaging just under 6 strikeouts a game against lefty starters, with those lefties 5 of 8 going over their strikeout prop. Most recently, facing the Red Sox, Cole Reagans had 8, Tarek Skubal had 11. I put Chris Sale in that category, obviously, over 7.5 Ks back in Fenway. Cole Reagans is on the mound tonight. I know his over 6.5 Ks is a bit juiced at minus 144. Weirdly enough, Reagans has started in every game this year against a team that has a high K rate against lefties. He's gone over 6.5 Ks in 6 of those 8 games. Lefty starters, 9 of 11 have gone over their strikeout prop against St. Louis, averaging 5.5 strikeouts to start. So against the Cards tonight at home, Reagan's got a good shot of going over. Joe Ryan, under 6.5 Ks. This number just feels a little bit too high for me. He's getting a low K rate team. The Brewers, they struck out a lot last year and just not that much against righties this season. So against the 2 low K rate teams that Ryan faced this year, he had 5 against St. Louis and 4 against Kansas City. Those were both on the road. Ryan's on the road in Milwaukee tonight. Righties, they're averaging just over 4 strikeouts a game against the Brewers. In fact, 5 of the 29 righties have gone over. Only 5 have gone over 6.5 Ks out of 29 against Milwaukee. The last one, JT Ginn on April 18th. It's a very high number for the matchup, so I would lean under there. I know Jessica Brand and I are on opposite sides here, so at the PropQueen.com newsletter, you can check out why she likes the over here. But for Chad Patrick, under 4.5 Ks, this is just because he has gone under this in 3 of the 4 that he's faced a low K rate team. Righties, there have been, let me do mental math, 37 right-handers have faced Minnesota this season, and 26 of the 37 have gone under their strikeout prop, averaging just over 4 strikeouts a game. So it's averages are a little bit below 4.5, but when you look at the book, they're just completely off on the Twins, who also struck out more last year than this year. The books haven't seemed to catch on just yet. So 11 overs, 26 unders against the Twins this year for right-handers. Corbin Burns over 6.5 Ks. He's getting the horrible Rockies. Burns hasn't faced any high K rate team except the Yankees in his first start, and he had 8 strikeouts in that game in just 4 1/3 innings. This is the first time since his first start of the year facing a high K rate team, Burns. The Rockies are so bad, Burns should dominate them. 17 overs this year, 13 unders against the Rockies, averaging 6 strikeouts a game. So I would look to Corbin Burns and his over strikeout prop tonight. Jessica said, matters when you got into, she loved it, plus 128. So hers was a value play. But yes, we do disagree on that play. There were a lot of fishy lines today. A lot of lines in Major League Baseball that you should stay the hell away from. Fishy lines. The first fishy line of the day, it is the Detroit Tigers taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. This number moved 10 cents against the Tigers, despite, of course, the public being on the best team in the American League, the Tigers. The Blue Jays stink, right? Again, I'm not telling you to bet the Blue Jays. I'm just telling you I would stay away from the Tigers. It's definitely that sharps are against Jack Flaherty. He's been struggling in his last 5 starts. Tigers have lost all of them. Those last 5 starts, Flaherty owns a 6.66 ERA. The Tigers have lost 7 of Flaherty's 8 starts this year. And Detroit, it's like the DeGrom problem with the Mets. Detroit's averaging just over 3 runs per game when Flaherty pitches. just over 6 runs per game in all the other 28 contests. So there's something going on when Jack Flaherty's pitching. Well, I guess nothing's going on when Jack Flaherty's pitching. They're not scoring. Just be careful of that fishy line. Another fishy line. This one makes some sense because it's Chris Sale's return to Boston. So there's a little extra oomph there to give it to the Red Sox fans. Maybe it's a bad day in Boston. Anyway, we've seen this line move 12 cents against the Red Sox, despite the public being on the Red Sox because it's Chris Sale versus Garrett Crochet, a mix of the aces. Well, Sale, he tossed 6 scoreless innings with 10 strikeouts last year against Boston. That was in Atlanta. Sale has a 1.85 ERA in his last 4 starts. The Braves have won 8 of their last 12. They also won 3 of 4 last year against Boston. The Red Sox were just swept by the Tigers, and they allowed 30 runs in those 3 losses. The Red Sox bullpen, I bought into it in game 1 of that series against the Tigers. Bad. Looked bad. So, yes, the Tigers are the best team in the league. My apologies, but I'm just saying, like, whatever. So I would stay away from the Red Sox today. Sean, why are you complaining? Shawn Michael, no WNBA. I'm sorry. I'll get it next week for the WNBA. I'll get Hakeem. I'll get James Young. We'll talk WNBA. But I had to get I wanted John Ewing on. I wanted to talk a little NFL. I know NFL's king. People love to know the schedules, all that stuff, how it impacts things. So that's why I did that. So we did fishy lines. We did K-props to watch. That means that we just have one Oh, no, hold on. Offensive player props. I forgot about the offensive player props before we get to Royal Locks. I will tell you the best offensive player props to look at today, matchup-wise against the starting pitching. So against starters, Jose Ramirez, 444, 2 doubles, 3 home runs against Brady Singer. Francisco Lindor has pretty good numbers against Rodon when it comes to extra bases, 3 doubles and 2 homers. Kyle Farmer, 357 with a double and 2 homers for an underrated name against Burns. The craziest of the night is Jose Altuve against Nathan Eovaldi. He's got 7 dingers against Eovaldi in his career, hitting 327, 2 doubles. Nuts. Christian Walker also has great numbers against Eovaldi, 556 with a double and 2 homers. Some unders to take a look at tonight. So Ryan McMahon of the Rockies, he's 0 for 9 with 5 strikeouts against Corbin Burns. George Springer, 0 for 13 with 6 Ks against Flaherty. And Vladdy Guerrero, 2 for 10 with 3 strikeouts against Flaherty. Oh no, I clicked the wrong button. 1 second. I need to add the graphic for Royal Locks. Last segment of the day. You know what that means. I got to get to the bars to go hang out with my friends and watch the Knicks and the Subway Series. So let's get to Royal Locks. Royal Locks of the day. I'm going to my favorite strikeout prop, which is Corbin Burns against the worst team in baseball, the Colorado Rockies, taking Burns over 6.5 Ks. Burns has faced just one high K rate team this year, and that was the Yankees in his first start of the year, where he punched out 8 Yankees in 4 1/3 innings. The Rockies are terrible, and righties, 17 overs, 13 unders. Their K prop, they're averaging like 6 strikeouts a game against Colorado this year. No. Corbin Burns is one of the greatest pitchers in the league. He's going to go over 6.5 strikeouts tonight. On the Knicks end, I'm going with Karl-Anthony Towns over 20.5 points. He's had 21, 23, and 34 points in his last 3 against the Celtics in Madison Square Garden. That includes games 3 and 4, putting up 21 and 23 points. I'm a little skeptical of that rebounds prop at 11.5. He went under it in the last game with 11 boards. Cat's gone over his rebounds of 11.5 in all the other regular season games against the Celtics. So it's just very strange number. I'm going to stay away from the boards tonight. Also, I have no clue what the Celtics are going to do with Porzingis. Like, is he breathing? We don't know. I'm just going to stick with the points. Over 20.5 points for Cat, especially with the juice on the under for Jalen Brunson tonight. What a big day in New York. I know a lot of you don't care because you don't live here, but it's just probably the biggest day in New York sports in the last 20 years. I don't, like, if you guys know a day that's been crazier in New York, let me know sports-wise. But I would say that the Subway Series, the Juan Soto drama, people want to bet Juan Soto to have a home run today in the Bronx against Rodon. We've got the Knicks at the Garden facing the Celtics. It is going to be a hell of a day. I hope you all have a hell of a weekend. I will be back on Monday to host this Prop Queen pod, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. The newsletter, thepropqueen.com. Go check it out. I'm going to try to write a newsletter this weekend. I've got a wedding. People keep asking if I'm going to the Subway Series tomorrow. It just so happens that my co-host at MLB is getting married. So MLB is going to all be at this wedding tomorrow. Whatever. It's not a football season wedding, I guess. So I have to be happy. Despite for me being baseball season, it still matters. Have a great, profitable night. Have a great, profitable weekend. Sign up, subscribe at the YouTube page, Prop Queen Sports. Please like all the videos. That would be very helpful. Subscribe to the newsletter at thepropqueen.com in case you missed anything. See you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.